Okay, good morning Year 9. Now what we're going to be doing is using linear simultaneous equations to solve problems. Okay, so what this essentially is worded problems that you will get that you need to read the sentence or read the problem and go, okay, what is it they're trying to get me to solve? What is it they want me to do? And that's a little bit hard because with maths questions, they just give you two equations and go, okay, figure out x and y. With this, you've really got to actually break down the question and put it into your own equations and then solve for them. So these have a specific kind of order that you need to follow. To solve a worded problem, you need to define the pro-numerals, that is for the values that you want to find. So what that is if let's say you are trying to find number of cars, okay? The question says how many cars. You want to say, okay, I want cars to be represented by the letter C. Okay, so whenever you see a C in your equation, let's say 2 cars equals, I don't know, 6. Okay, 2 C's equals 6. That means the number of cars equals 3. So we're just defining what we're trying to find with a letter, a pronumeral. Okay? Write a pair of simultaneous equations. Now, this is always the hardest part, is that you can go, okay, this letter's for this, and let's say C is for cars and T equals trucks. Okay, that's really easy. But the problem is, when you've actually got to write your simultaneous equations, you've got to read the actual problem and try and figure out, okay, what number associates with to what letter. That's always really tough, and I always find that students struggle with this step the most. My suggestion is you read the question 2, 3, 4 times. What doesn't matter how long it takes, you read it slowly and you don't rush it, and you try and build your equations based off it. Okay? Everything in the question is there. They wouldn't give you the question otherwise. Okay? So all the information is there. You just need to read it carefully. This part you've done previously. You solve the simultaneous equation using sub or elimination. I much prefer elimination, but because you guys are just starting out, you're typically much more used to sub. Think of this as like roller skating compared to rollerblading. You always start off with something really easy and then you work your way up. So don't feel bad that you're not doing elimination or you're not used to it. Most people, and when I was your age, always preferred some, but the older I got, the more I preferred this way. So hopefully you can use either way, but I do find this much more efficient if you know what you're doing. And lastly, you have to express your answer in words. If you're given a worded question, you must answer in a worded sentence, or in a sentence to some degree. Now, there is this question, which is our example we're going to go through, and I'm going to answer it using substitution method for those who prefer substitution method, and then I'm going to solve it in elimination method. And you can stick around for the substitution or you can skip ahead for the elimination. Anyway, let's just dive into it first. Adrina bought 2 containers of ice cream. Okay, so we're dealing with ice cream. Okay, and 3 bottles of maple syrup for $22. Okay. Petita bought 1 container of ice cream and 2 bottles of maple syrup for $13. How much does each container of ice cream and a bottle of maple syrup cost? Okay, so let's define what we're trying to find. We're trying to find the cost of a container of ice cream, that's what we're trying to find, and a bottle of maple syrup. So let's define those things. Let's say ice cream is represented by the letter I. And let's say our maple syrup, if I can spell it, is represented by the letter M. Easy, done. Okay? Just makes sense. Ice cream, maple syrup, I and M. Done. Now, let's build our equations. 2 containers of ice cream, so let's say 2I plus 3 bottles of maple syrup, so that's plus 3M equals a total value of $22. So let's say 22. The other one is this girl, 1 ice cream, so that is just I because 1I, plus 2 bottles of maple syrup, so 2M equals $13. Okay, so I've underlined all the key information. I went, okay, this is what I'm trying to find. These are the bits of information that are important, and I've built my equations based off those underlined bits. From here, I will need to solve these equations. I'm going to do substitution now. If you want to skip ahead and do elimination, you're more than welcome. Okay, so let's just rewrite these, and let's do our sub. So 2i plus 3m equals 22, and I plus 2m equals 13. Okay, and let's always label these equations. Equation 1 and equation 2. Now, from here, I'm looking at this and go, okay, if I'm substituting, I want one letter by itself that I can put into another. Just here, I've got a lonely I, which is very tempting to use. But I can't use it just at this point because I've got this 2m. If I manipulate this equation 2 and put my 2m over there, I'll just have an I by itself. Once I've got that, I can substitute the I into here. Okay? Because it's 2i. That means I would put whatever is left over into here. So let's just do that, okay? If you're not keeping up, that's okay. Let's just watch. So taking equation 2, I am going to minus 2m from both sides. So this will be I equals 13 minus 2m. And we've changed it, so let's call it something else. Let's call this equation 3 now. Now, we want to write our instructions. We're going to sub equation 3 into equation 2. Now, equation 1. The reason why we can't sub it into equation 2 because this is just a modified version of equation 2. We can't do that. So, we'd end up with 0. If we put this I into equation 1, so whenever we see I, we're going to replace it, substitute, with this, 13 minus 2m. So, remember, substitute is just to replace. And we're going to put it in brackets. So, it's going to be 2 bracket. Instead of writing I, we're going to write this. 13 minus 2m, close bracket, plus 3m equals 22. So, we've got that. So it's 2 times 13 and 2 times negative 2m plus 3m equals 22. Let's expand the brackets and solve for that. That's going to be 2 times 13, which is 26, 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4m, plus 3m equals 22. Okay, I am going to do 2 steps at once here. I'm going to minus my 26 and put my m's together. So minus 26 minus 26. So just forgetting about that, I'm looking at this part. Minus 4m plus 3m gives me minus m. And then negative 22 minus 26 gives me minus 4. And if I times by negative 1, I am just changing all my negative values to positive values. So this becomes m equals 4. So I have figured out the cost of one maple syrup bottle. Just here, it's going to be $4. And this is a new equation, which I'm going to call 4. This is equation 4. Now, I want to substitute this back into one of these equations. Now, actually, maybe even 3. But if I substitute it into here, I equals 13 minus 2m. Well, I'm going to sub the m part right into there, which is 4. And then I'll figure out what I is. So it'll tell me straight away. So, let's do another bit of paper here. Sub equation 4 into equation 3. So this will be I equals 13 minus 2. And instead of m, we're going to write bracket 4. And then we're going to solve for that. So 2 times 4 is going to give me 8. So it's 13 minus 8 equals my I, which gives me 5. Brilliant. Okay, so this tells me, therefore, ice cream, if I can spell, container, costs $5. whilst the maple syrup costs, what was it, $4. Brilliant. Okay, and that's just substituting. So we're just kind of putting one of the equations into another equation, just like you would with a number previously, but now we're just putting a whole equation into another equation, and that's what substituting is. Now, let's get into elimination. A little bit more advanced. 2i plus 3m equals 22, and I plus 2m equals 13. Okay, now we're going to start the exact same way. This is 1, this is 2. Now I want to eliminate one of these from each other. So if we've got 2i plus 3m equals 22, I plus 2m, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the quickest and easiest way is I want these two numbers, these coefficients, to match. I've got 2 here, I've got 1 here, I've got 3 here, I've got 2 here. Now what I could do is I could make these match, but that means I'd have to times this by 3, which would give 6, and then I'd have to times this by 2, and it would give me 6. That's too much work. I'm going to times this whole equation by 2. That'll give me 2i here. I don't really care about the rest of it. As long as those two match up, I can minus them from each other. So my first thing is I'm going to get equation 2, and I'm going to times it by 2. So everything in equation 2 is getting times by 2. Now I'm going to write equation 1 just so I can show you what I'm going to do next. So times by 2, that's 2i plus 4m equals 26. Okay, I've just times everything by 2, and then I'm going to call this equation 3. Now from here, I'm going to, and this is still equation 1, it's still carried over, I'm going to minus equation 3 from equation 1. So 1 minus 3. So therefore I'm going, where's 1 minus 3? Actually, yeah, 1 minus 3. So we are getting this, we're taking it away. Okay, so if it is 1 minus 3, we have this and we take away this. Okay, so 2 take away 2 is going to give me 0i, which is just nothing. 3 take away 4 is going to give me m, and 22, whoa, is that correct? Yes, that's correct. 22 minus 26 gives me negative 4. Uh-oh, we've made a mistake here somewhere. 1 take away 3. That is not right. What have I done wrong here? I have taken them wrong way around. Sorry, here it is. It is 3 take away 4. So that's a minus m. There we go. My mistake. So we've got 3 take away 4, 22 minus 26. So pay attention to my mistake here. It's 3 take away positive 4, which is negative m. So negative 1m. And then 22 minus 26, which is negative 4. So from here, we can times by negative 1. So m equals 4. So we have manipulated a little bit from here to here, and we've got our answer fairly quickly. From here, we are just going to call this equation 4, and then we're just going to do a quick sub equation 4 into, let's put it back, way back into equation 2, because that just has I equals that. So it will be, let's write that down, write down what you're doing, I plus 2 in bracket 4 equals 13. That's going to give me I plus 8 equals 13, minus 8 from both sides. I will equal 5. Okay, and that's what we got previously. So we previously have got these answers that ice cream container equals $5, whilst the maple syrup costs 4. So just, I guess what you want to do is, I was a little careless, in the sense I was rushing. So let's just take it back and why I made that mistake, why I went wrong. I did do something correct in the sense I was taking it away from the top. So usually I put what I'm taking away from on top, and then I minus my lower value. But the way we've got to read this, and the way I did teach you in class, it's 2 minus 2 equals 0. 3 minus 4 equals negative 1m. 22 minus 26 equals negative 4. So you've got to slow it down, learn from my mistake, and pay attention to what you're doing in these minuses. Okay? So I hope that helps in different ways of solving it. But the most important thing is that you try to follow this procedure. Okay? So remember, step 2 and step 3 are the hardest ones. Writing the equations out, read it multiple times, and solve the equation, either substitution or elimination. Learn from my mistake, don't rush. Okay? I hope this has been helpful, guys.